Hello again, everybody.
Comment below if you appreciate that little homage to a YouTube channel that got me into magic. I'm looking at all the old schoolers out there. Today's episode is with a magician that I've mentioned a few times on this channel. He's a guy that I met in London Magic Convention, which was my first convention, and kept in touch through a couple of messages on Facebook, things like that. But then saw him again in Blackpool this year, and it was like no time had passed. And I think that's a constant for me with magic and magicians in the community, is that time doesn't seem to affect relationships like it does elsewhere. So I'd like to introduce my guest this week, Michael Brandie.
Fresh off his latest show, Simply Magic, and somehow the unofficial face of Blackpool Magic 2026. Not because he was on the posters or anything like that, but because every lecture and show that I went to, he seemed to be up on stage. So I'm assuming he was part of the scheduling, or he slipped up somebody a fiver at some point along the way. At one point, I did start thinking that he was going to take over the whole convention. I wasn't going to see anyone else, but it was great to see his face. Brilliant performer, great thinker in magic, and just one of those guys that I found really nice to be around. And I'm really pleased to say welcome to the channel, Michael. Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. I
You're
have
welcome.
never done a podcast conversation in my life
Neither have
before.
I until I started this. So we're
Yeah.
all new to it. We're all new to it. It's all good. It's just a chat. So I've mentioned you on the channel in previous episodes. We
Mhm.
met about 2.5 years ago in London Magic Convention, which was my first convention. We met
Yeah.
through our mutual friend, Lord Harry.
Yeah.
And I
Legend.
think it was sat at the bar in that convention. He introduced me to
Right.
you. Obviously, you and Harry go back before that.
Mhm.
And we were just saying before I hit record on this that we then didn't see each other until Blackpool this year, so like 2 years later, and
Yeah.
felt like no time had passed, which is great.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to have you on here because I think you're one of those people that I see as what the community is, because it's my experience of meeting somebody and kind of staying in touch with people, and you see them again and again and again, which I think is lovely. So yeah, great to have you here.
Great to be here.
I've done this with everyone else.
Mhm.
I forgot to mention this, but I know you've watched a couple. So
Yeah.
your magical history or journey in 60 seconds. Off you go, Michael.
So my magical journey it starts probably back in the 80s with Paul Daniels and my love for magic and watching him there, and then getting the sort of magic sets and things like that. Had no idea how to use them, couldn't understand the instructions, so they just sat gathering dust. And then into the 90s, it was sort of Penn and Teller, and then all the way to the end of the 90s until David Blaine came around. And then my brother, back in the day, this is when you taped things off the television. I came home from the pub one night and he says, "You've got to see this guy. His name's David Blaine." And I watched him, and he did this sort of the thread trick the Hindu thread trick, and I was just awestruck. And from that point on, my brother started buying the magic and saying to me, "You learn this magic tricks and then teach me them." And that's how my sort of journey started. So I would learn magic, teach my brother. He would go out to the pubs, and then eventually, I started going out to the pubs, doing magic to friends and all that sort of stuff, and started doing gigs. And now I write my own shows, and I've done the Edinburgh Fringe back in 2018. And up until this last Saturday, that was probably the highlight of my magic career so far. But then Saturday night, I felt that blew that out of the water. So yeah, mix of sort of card magic and that kind of stuff. Napkin magic now as well.
Napkin magic, I love it. We're gonna
Yeah,
have to talk about that again later, because I think
yeah.
it's well worth touching on, because I think you're the first person ever that's actually mentioned napkin magic in like the last 2.5 years for me anyway. So
Right.
I'm
Okay.
interested
Yeah.
to hear where that's come from. But
Yeah.
no, that's amazing. I think so. Is your brother older than you?
Yes. Yeah. He's 7 years older than me. Yeah.
I like that. So he's basically put you onto it and then got you to learn it to teach him.
Yeah, yeah,
Very clever.
and he doesn't do magic anymore. So when
Okay.
I left home to move in with my now wife, um, I took the magic and he took the Technic 1210 decks. That was kind of our deal.
I was
And I
the
yeah, I just continued on with the magic, and he sort of just didn't.
Yeah, fair.
But I owe a lot. I owe a lot to my brother. I owe a lot to all of my family, and they've
Yeah.
been so supportive this whole time. So it's amazing.
Were they a big part of you getting into magic? Obviously, your brother was, but what about your family?
Yeah, so like absolutely, like they've been so supportive. My dad has been to every single show that I've done, and my mum up until when she passed away as well was at every show that I'd done as well. So,
That's cool.
yeah, they've just been a massive source of encouragement, and
Amazing.
that's really helpful. And my wife, like, I'll buy far too much magic, and my wife doesn't bat an eyelid. She's like, "Oh, here we go again," like. But yeah, it's amazing.
I think we all do that, and fair play to you for letting her know that you do it, because I think a lot of us are just like, oh, I don't know what this is that's been delivered. Definitely got a few of them coming this week where I'm like, oh yeah, it's work stuff, honest.
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, I think that's, now that I've finished the show, that'll be me purchased all the magic that I need for just now.
Yeah.
I can get back, because it's been a sort of intense 2 months writing this show and pulling
Yeah.
it together. So I love it. I love magic. I love it to bits, but I'm ready for a bit of a take a step back just now and get back to some gaming.
Yeah. With we'll get onto the questions that I sent across to you, but with the where it's been kind of intense writing your show, are you then, is your mindset just in that, or are you still kind of exploring magic elsewhere, like, picking up effects and playing with them, or are you solely, focused on that show?
Solely focused on the show. Like, this is, so I would probably say this is the most these tricks, I've never done these tricks before. There's a couple that I've maybe done in the past, and the napkin ones and all that kind of stuff, but the ring on rope routine, that's something that I've never done in my life. There was a coin trick. Again, I've done maybe a bit of coin magic, but I pulled that together. So a lot of the stuff that I had done had never been in any show before, and it was all new. So it was a really intense sort of new learning curve. And I was out for a drink last night with my brother-in-law, and he said that the show felt like the most Michael Brandie show that he's seen of mine so far. And I had a bit of a sort of revelation on Saturday night, in terms of when I did a show in Bazaar at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2018. It was all about pulling thread out my eye, putting acupuncture needle through my hand, putting a plastic bag on my head, all of these things, stable gun roulette, all of these things, because I wanted, at that time, I wanted the audience to not be like, how is he doing this? I wanted them to be, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Like, it's ridiculous. And then fast forward to Saturday night, I had this revelation of, this is why I'm doing this, because it was so much more like lighthearted. It was funny, and I was getting laughter at the right, in the right beats and all of this sort of stuff, and the audience were just on board from the moment I walked out. And I was like, this is actually why I do this, is to entertain people. It shouldn't be about that sort of like, oh my God, what's he doing? It needs to be inclusive. Like, why was I wanting to have people like, oh, this is uncomfortable back then? But I think that's growth, and I think that's development.
Yeah, I think there's a place for that as well, isn't there? If that is what your show is, then people are coming expecting that sort of thing. So it depends how you pitch the show. If you're pitching it as classical magic show, and then you've got a bag over your head, people are going to be a bit like, oh, hang on. But if that's what they're expecting coming to it, that I don't see that that's not a magic show as such. But so you've mentioned the pulling thread out of your eye.
Yeah.
That's Wayne Houchins, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when I met you in London Magic Convention, I think you were lucky enough to get up on stage with Wayne, who was lecturing there, and experience that as a spectator. What was that like for you? Because I imagine that's quite amazing to be inspired to actually go and perform in something, to actually being part of that show from the other side of things.
Yeah, it was incredible, absolutely incredible. It was like a full circle moment. Like, I love the magic of Wayne Houchin. I think he's an incredible creator. So to be there and to come up on stage and be right beside the guy that is the one that inspired me to think about pull thread at my eye. Like it was just unbelievable. like
Yeah.
like magic is it's so mad, and I'm sure someone's spoken about this before. Like there's no other profession or there's no other place where you get to stand next to your magical heroes.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. It's an amazing thing. It's so good.
Yeah. And this is obviously about the magic community, and I think what is great is that those people that are seemingly up on this like pedestal in terms of magic, that when it comes to the community, they're more than happy to like have a chat. I got into magic through YouTube in my like early 20s, something like that. And the big names then were like, or maybe a little bit later, it was the Chris Ramseys. I'm never sure how to say his surname, but Eric Leclerc.
Yeah.
Who, on the back of my experience that led to this channel, Eric was messaging on that thread, giving me advice, and I met him in Blackpool this year. The first time I went, and he was like, "Oh, you're the guy." So we got chatting. He's going to come on and have a chat. But to me, so he agreed a few days ago to have a chat on here. And but to me, he's like this, and he's this guy that like I watched so much stuff from. And he's more than happy to just come and have a chat with me on a channel that I've just set up and give up his time for it. So yeah, you're right. There is no other industry where you are shoulder to shoulder with people that are seemingly up here, but they're quite happy to sit down and have a drink with you. And
totally. Eric is so funny. Like I've not spoken to him on a one-to-one, but when you see him walking around Blackpool, like he's just brilliant.
Yeah, and he's got that both sides of it, isn't he? He's like, I think he's got that like cheeky side of things, but he's also a brilliant family entertainer. And you see him but it seems to be the same persona for both. He just makes it work for both, which is great. Right, we're going to get on to the questions. My first question for you is, what was your first experience of, one, I guess, realizing that there was a magic community out there? You've mentioned that your brother had kind of put you on to learning magic. So I imagine at that point you hadn't been to like conventions and things like that. So what was your first experience of realizing that there was this whole community out there and it wasn't just you learning magic?
Yeah, I think so. I suppose when I started, it was 1999 when I started doing magic properly. And it wasn't until it was a few years after. I still loved watching magic on the television. And I remember watching a show where a TV presenter went to Blackpool and learned magic or whatever, and then was on the gala show. And I remember seeing that and being like, bloody hell, like there's actually a thing where people go and for a long time, I thought about I'd really like to go, and I'd like to go before I'm old and all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't until 2017 where, as a Christmas present, that I got tickets to come to Blackpool. And then when I came to Blackpool the first time, it was so daunting. Like I travel on my own, I come down on my own. I'm okay in my own company, but I also like to walk around and chat to different groups of people and get to know folk and share tricks and all that kind of stuff. But it was so daunting. I was like, oh my God, there's so much to do here. Like the dealer's hall, the lectures, the Ruskin, like everything. It's like, where do you start?
Yeah.
But it was amazing because I remember I bumped into a magician and I was chatting away to him at the bar and he was jamming, he was doing loads of tricks or whatever. And then a guy sort of seen me speaking to him in the distance and assumed that I knew this magician. So then he came to speak to me and he was like, well, do you know this guy? And I was like, well, I know of him. So then I got chatting to this guy, Pierre from Sweden, who's now one of my closest friends in magic, and we still keep in touch, maybe not as much as I should, that sits on me, but he's coming back to Blackpool next year, so we're going to drink beer and have the best time ever. But just that, like, so making a friend in the first year there was just incredible. And then I was hooked, absolutely hooked, that I had to come back again in 2018. And I've been to everyone apart from when obviously COVID came along and cancelled. But in 2018, that circle of people just grew and grew. And it's always, it was people from Belgium, it's people from Holland, like from people from Wales. That I'll often I often really not like gravitate towards the people from Holland and Belgium. Like there's just something about them that I just love spending time with, and I spend a lot of time in their company over the weekend. And I think what I enjoy about it with them, it's not a case of like, here's this trick and this trick's better and do da 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 da. It's just a group of guys and girls just like chilling and being like, yeah, this is amazing just to spend time with you guys. The magic happens throughout the day, and I might jam with a couple of folk at night, but in general, it's more about just catching up with people in the evenings and into the night.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about the magic community, is just this. Yeah, that's what I love. It's just people coming together with a shared interest.
Yeah, I found that. So it was my first Blackpool this year, which I totally get what you're saying about, feeling that daunting of I traveled up by train on my own. I obviously knew some people who were going to be there. What I didn't expect is just how vast it was going to be. Like Lord Harry, one of my friends, closest friends in Magic, he was going to be there. So it was all like, oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll do this. He was kind of show me around. Got there, it's so busy that like actually to try and catch up with somebody at a planned time is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like you just got, I think my advice to somebody going to Blackpool for the first time, or even any of the big conventions, don't make a plan. You can pick out the lectures that you want to go to, but actually in terms of socializing, just absolutely wing it. And Harry, the first night, I think he was, because he had a stall. He I think he was in bed pretty early the Thursday night the Wednesday night before it started on the Thursday. Obviously, it's 4 days this year. So like I didn't get to see him on the first night. So I just went, oh, do you know what? I'm not going to just sit in my hotel. I'm just going to go grab a drink somewhere and hope somebody speaks to me. And it just so happened it was through Magic Alan's WhatsApp chat that I just sent a message saying, I'm in this bar, is anyone else in here? Got talking to about 4 people straight away. And on the back of that, you introduce some more people. And you're right, it's so nice to have that. Like I'm quite reserved as like normally. So actually just being able to go into a situation like that and everyone's got something in common. So you've got something to talk about. If I just decided to go out in Cardiff to a random bar and just sit there and hope somebody talks to me, it's not going to happen. Whereas that in Blackpool, you go to the Ruskin, you go to the House of Illusions, you're going to start talking to people about magic because somebody will be doing magic there. It'll open up those conversations. I think that's just it's a great thing to do. And there were so many people that, I had 10, 15, 20-minute conversations with. And it was only after going, like moving on to somewhere else, I was like, I didn't even catch their name. But still valued those conversations and, those chats quite highly, which is really nice. So you've alluded to those friendships being like, what you love about the magic community. Would you say that that's the best thing about, not just about the events, but about the community as a whole, is being able to continue those friendships?
Yeah, 100%. Like, so from one of the friendships that I've got with a couple of the folk from Holland, Rob and Shirley, we came up with this nonsense idea of Napkin Man back in, people aren't familiar with Napkin Man. This is the story. We were sat in Nando's in Blackpool, and I used to work in Wetherspoons. So I went to get the cutlery and I wrapped the cutlery in the napkin and handed it out to the people on the table. And then I'd also learned earlier that convention how to make a napkin rose. So I started continuing to practice that, and I think it was Rob or Shirley had sort of says, you're just a real napkin man, aren't you? And then from that bit of conversation, by the end of the meal at Nando's, we'd created this whole idea about the superhero called Napkin Man. And then it continued on into the next day. And then at 4 o'clock in the morning, on the last night, I'm sat there and I'm thinking of different ideas about what can we do with a napkin, what magic can we do? And then, the old sort of trick where you have the napkin and you hold it to a point and you make it look like it's bowing. I was doing that, and we were just in hysterics. And it doesn't, I know at this point in time, it doesn't sound funny at all.
Oh,
But
it
at
is.
4 o'clock in the morning, when you spent every single night and you're like late into the night drinking alcohol and you're delirious, it's the funniest thing ever. So then from that, we just, obviously they're two of my best friends in magic. Shirley doesn't even do magic. She just comes to Blackpool to keep her
Okay.
dad company. Her dad is Peter Pelican, who's the legend with packet tricks. Um, I love the man. He is incredible.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. So basically, from that, we created a WhatsApp group around this whole idea of Napkin Man, and we were just joking around and all this kind of stuff. And then I came home and I told my wife, and she was like, "That sounds the worst idea ever." She's like, "No, you're not going to do that. A superhero that just does napkin tricks." And then when I was writing this show, I was like, "Well, I know napkin magic, so I'm going to put a couple of napkin magic tricks into it." And then initially, I had an overarching idea for the show, and it was around art. Is art? Is magic art, or is it simply magic? Because the show was called Simply Magic.
Yeah.
But then, as I was sort of going on with this idea, I was like, it's actually not going to work. It's not financially viable. And I was just sort of stripping things back and just trying to strip it down to its basics. And then, but this idea of having the napkin tricks, and then I did. I created for the show. I created a cartoon, a colouring book character of Napkin Man, and I did the colour match routine. So I had a prediction where I'd coloured in Napkin Man, and the spectator came up and they'd coloured in Napkin Man, and they matched. And then right at the end, the Superman song comes on, and I take off my clothes to reveal that I am Napkin Man underneath. And it was just so much fun, just amazing, just to go out and just be free and just not worry about what anyone was thinking, and just,
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of nerves about how is this going to be seen? Are people going to like it? Are they going to enjoy it? Are they going to laugh? But I think at my age now, I'm like, actually, we have to just go with it. You've
Yeah.
got this idea, just go out there and do it,
Yeah.
and see how people respond.
I like the idea that has stemmed from a conversation with some friends as well. That,
Yeah.
People talk about magic needing to have meaning to the people that you're performing it to. I don't think that's always true. I think, it can have meaning to you and entertain people. I think probably for you, that was really meaningful that, you've turned, a silly thing with your friends,
Yeah.
friends through magic, particularly, into
Yeah.
something to actually, I imagine you told them in that group that this is happening,
Yeah.
based on
Absolutely.
that this is now part of my show, I think is absolutely incredible. And
I sent it to them. I sent the idea to them. I said, I voice recorded it, and I said, "This is what I'm planning." And they were like, "You need to do it."
yeah,
Had they not, I think that's the thing. Like, they gave me the courage to be like, actually, let's just do it.
that's
If it,
amazing.
if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah,
But coming back to that whole thing about meaning in magic, I agree that doesn't always have to be a meaning behind something. There doesn't always have to be some sort of story. My last show, Shows a Card Trick, had this thread around past, present, and future, and I loved it. I started off with an hourglass, um, and speaking about the sand at the bottom of the hourglass represents the past,
mm,
time it's gone, and then the bit
yeah,
in the middle is the present. That's why it's so small. And then I cover the top of the hourglass with a bit of paper, and I'm like, but the bit at the top is the future, because we don't know how much time we've got left. And then I do the show, I do the trick, and it sort of interweaves with the theme of past, present, and future. And then at the end, I do Pegasus page book test, where they think of the word, and I talk about we're now in the future. And then they look and the page is ripped out, they go and they take off the thing, the hourglass cap, and in there is the piece of paper, the torn
nice.
out bit of paper, and it matches. I really liked it, and I had a friend come up and they were like, actually, after that show, I've started to think about how I live my life now,
Oh
in
wow,
terms of the past, present, the future, and not knowing how much sand we have left.
yeah,
But and there was meaning in that. But this show, I was like, actually, it's called Simply Magic. The meaning for this show is let's just entertain people. Let's
Yeah.
just make sure the people that paid the £10 to come and see the show are just entertained. There doesn't have to be this
Absolutely.
overarching, deep and meaningful thing.
Yeah.
It's lovely if there is. That's great. If that's what people want to do, absolutely go for it. But there doesn't always have to be. Sometimes it's just about entertainment and
Yeah.
magic, and I think that's
Absolutely.
the-
And yeah, I think the meaning for the Napkin Man would have been intrinsic for you. It's just going,
Mm,
and like you said, giving yourself that allowance to say, yeah, do you know what, this has come from, you know, a group of my friends, but actually it's become part of you and
yeah.
your relationship with them. So to actually put that into a show, I think is really nice. That, you know, it shows what 4 a.m. in Ruskin or, you know, anywhere in Blackpool can lead to. I think
Absolutely.
yeah, some of those conversations 4 o'clock in Blackpool this year, I messaged Etienne Pradier to say how good his lecture was, and weirdly, the last couple of weeks he's been posting it every week.
Yeah.
But you know, it was brilliant. But again,
His
4
lecture.
o'clock. I'd met him earlier in the evening and I told him that, but for some reason, at 4 o'clock on the way back from Ruskin to my room, I was just like, I'm going to tell him again, and just
Yeah.
drunkenly messaging, you know, and I, you know, he responded saying thanks, and it's one of those things again that for me, I felt fine doing that. Like I wouldn't do that in a work or any other situation of like thinking it's okay to message somebody who's like high up or anything like that, you know, that they inspired you and stuff. But yeah, I think magic for me or the magic community for me is all about that everyone is just on the same level. And yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I asked this to everybody. What would you change in the magic community to make it a better place? It's a tricky
Great
one.
question.
It's a tricky
It's
one because you don't want to
it's
be
a
negative, but yeah.
No, absolutely. And that was the bit that I was trying to, when I was thinking about this question, was there are so many negative things that magic doesn't need. And we all know what that is. And we all just need to be like we need to be better people
Alex
in general.
Lodge, what?
Oh, sorry?
I
Yeah.
coughed. Just coughed. I absolutely didn't say anyone's name during that.
Yeah, but you know, like, so I'm trying to not be negative, and I'm trying to think about what are the positive things, and I think comes back to the experience that I've just had within this show. And I suppose this is more about advice as well to give people. It's for people, if they've got an idea, if they want to do a show, just do it. Don't go seeking advice on forums, because of everyone's got an opinion. So had I went onto the forums and said, right guys, this is an idea I've got for the show. What do you guys think? I know for a fact a lot of people would be like, this is terrible. This is not magic. This is not what we do, blah, 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 blah. And that's totally fine. That's their opinion. I'm not going to, when I scroll through these things, I don't get involved because I'm trying to maintain my own peace in life. Like, I don't need to get involved in drama. But I would say to people, don't go seeking advice from other magicians unless you are really close with those magicians already. Then seek advice from them. If you trust that person, if you trust that magician, then seek advice, because there's that famous quote: don't seek advice from someone that you wouldn't want criticism from, you know. So go, like, for yourself. If it's Lloyd, absolutely Lloyd. I've briefly met him. I get the sense that Lloyd is a great guy, you know, and I would have no issue in terms of, if I knew Lloyd, going to Lloyd and saying, look, I'm working on this idea, you got any feedback or whatever. I would take that from Lloyd because of his wealth of experience and knowledge. But for me, it's about just maintaining my own peace of mind and thinking that when I do my shows, I really usually hope that there's my 3 closest friends there from college and a couple of other, my really close friends from growing up in school, because those are the people that I trust that will be honest with me after the show and saying, actually, Michael, there was this bit here that didn't really work, or that bit was great. I only want to do, I want to get advice from them, because there's a couple of them that know stuff about magic as well. So it's always good to get the advice from them, as opposed to the wider magic society, like magic community, because
Yeah.
magic community in the main is amazing. We all know that. But also, if you think about Blackpool, we're going down to Blackpool and there's 4,000 other magicians there. And there's some magicians that, I'm trying to think of a nicer way to say it, that you wouldn't trust in a conversation. There's 4,000 people there. They're not all going to be lovely and friendly, So when you do that online, it's the same situation. You're opening yourself up to criticism and all this sort of stuff. So for me, the one thing I would change is, for magicians that want to do a show, have more belief in yourself and more belief in the ideas that you've come up with, and just do it. Just go out there. It's nerve-wracking, it's terrifying, but there's no better feeling than having this idea that you've worked so hard on, going out there and doing it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's fine. That's okay. Like, we can accept that it's not worked. We can change it, we can adapt it, and we can move on. But have those trusted people in the audience. You give them free tickets or whatever, or even, do a show that's a $5 for a ticket and it's a work in progress show.
Yeah.
So people know what they're going to expect.
Yeah.
So that, I suppose that's the bit for me. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, I think so. Well, when I'm talking about changing something to make it a better place, I think you've hit the nail on the head with what you're talking about, is particularly the ones that are doing that pulling down. So like, if you were to have gone on a forum and say, I'm planning to do this, why on earth would anyone jump on that to say, that's not magic, that's not this, don't do it that way?
Yeah.
It just, you can give advice and you can criticize something, but productively. What is the point in anyone going on to something like that and just ripping it apart?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Get into a conversation of going, well, they have no idea if, a Napkin Man, for example, have they gone and done it themselves? No. So how can you say it's not going to work? At some point in magic, everything was new. People were doing things for the first time. So why would you jump on it and say, well, that's just not ever going to work. It's not magic.
Yeah.
You've proved that right. You've gone and done that somebody might have on a forum gone, that's pathetic. It's going to, it sounds ridiculous. You've gone and proved that actually putting that idea into practice has worked really well for you. And it was a big part of your show and it's gone well. So yeah, I think the change should be those people that actually ripping things apart. Just back off, or at least do it in a productive way that is, encourages thought rather than just going, that's look at the variety in magic. Even just going back to Blackpool, the lectures, the shows, how much variety there is in it, that one thing isn't going to suit everybody. So one person's idea might entertain an audience, but it might not please another magician. So what?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember people sort of being down on Rubik's Cube magic. I love Rubik's Cube magic, and Rubik's Cube magic was a part of every show up until this one. But we know that Tom Crosby is an incredible Rubik's Cube magician. Like, he's fantastic, and I speak to him now, and I've seen him, and he's lovely, and all that sort of stuff. But the fact that people go down on Rubik's Cube magic, there's too much Rubik's Cube magic. Are you joking? Like, there's so many card tricks. Why are we not? Why? It's okay though. It's okay that the Rubik's Cube magic exists, and it's okay that card tricks exist, and it's okay that rope magic exists, and it's okay that you go to a gala show and there's a woman balancing wood and creating like a wooden structure on her head. It's amazing.
Whilst breathing deeply.
Sorry?
Whilst breathing deeply.
Oh man. But there's magic for everybody, and everybody's got different tastes. So find your taste and then just enjoy it. Don't criticize other people. The other thing, I've got a couple of things that I would change.
Go for it.
Is if someone asks a question on a forum, just answer the question. Like, if you know the answer, just answer it. Like, for example, who does such and such a trick. Oh, that is this person. Great, thanks. Conversation ends. Instead of being like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that trick? That's like the person just asked the question, so just answer the question.
Mhm.
Let's move on with our lives.
Yeah, I think the people that do that they're in their own little cocoon of magic. What they do as magic is all that magic is. And
Yeah.
if like you mentioned Rubik's cubes, if they're a card guy, why would you want to do Rubik's cubes?
Yeah.
Just don't get involved in it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of Rubik's cube magic. I've never explored it. I've never tried to learn it, but I can appreciate when somebody does it. It's not my thing, but I'm not going to tell somebody not to do it just because it's not something that I would particularly, enjoy learning or performing. I also know that people performing that to laymen, they're not going to have seen loads of magic, loads of Rubik cube magic. That will probably be the first time they've seen Rubik cube magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why would you tell somebody not to do that when actually the people that they're performing it to have, in all likelihood, never seen it? Most people have never seen a magician face to face. So whatever they get to see will be probably fresh to them, unless it's double cross, because seemingly everybody's seen that. But yeah, just why would you tell somebody not to explore that if it's their way of entertaining an audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, totally agree with
that. We need to remember that we do magic for an audience of non-magicians.
Yeah.
And I don't perform for magicians. I'll maybe jam with a couple of magicians, but I'm never going to fool them. Like I'm never going to go down to Blackpool and be like, there's a trick that's fooled you.
Yeah, and why would that be someone's goal as well, to fool other magicians? Is
exactly.
I've mentioned that we did a fool last night in Cardiff with Lloyd and his partner Kaylee, but that was just it was to give people experience of performing. No one came out of there upset that we didn't fool Lloyd or whatever, or bragging about the fact that they did. It's just a performance opportunity, and to have that input from somebody like you mentioned, really well thought of and experienced in magic, knowledgeable in magic, to get that feedback. So my intention on that night was just to perform and get some feedback and an opportunity to perform, not to fool somebody. I don't understand that mentality of, because they're not your audience, and if they are your audience, then you're performing magic to the wrong people, personally.
I mean, there's obviously incredible magicians for magicians, like that are phenomenal and they're elite. But for me, it's not my thing. Like, I can do a pharaoh shuffle, and that's about my sort of limit of like things that can impress magicians is me pharaohing a deck of cards, and I'm like, I love it.
Don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place to perform to magicians, but for me personally, that should be your what's the word for it? Your opportunity to sound things out. You should be performing to magicians to get their feedback, and if it fools them, it's going to fool a layman. But is it fooling them because they know what to look for and you've done something else, or is it fooling them because it's an effective routine? And that's for me, that's what you should be performing magicians for. So totally agree with what you've said there in terms of changing people's approach to advising people. I think is probably what you're getting at, is if you're going to give advice, give it for the right reasons, and don't just tear something apart for the sake of tearing something apart.
And I hope I didn't come across as negative in any of that.
Oh, no, not at all. I think I'm asking people what they're going to change about the community. So there's an element of negative in it, because if you're changing something, it suggests that something needs changing, which I think we all agree in certain areas of the community it does need changing. That's the whole reason for this channel. I got screwed over by somebody, that would be my thing, is you don't treat other magicians like that. We are a community, and if you're treating people like that, you're not part of a community. The community is about supporting each other, not tearing people down, like you said with those comments of So before I ask the very last question, where can people find you, Michael?
People can find me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and Michael Brandie Magician is what you would type in to find me. And yeah, I think that's it. I've got a YouTube channel. I don't really post much on YouTube. But yeah, you can find me if you just type in Michael Brandie Magician.
Amazing. Are you going to anything in the community in the next 6 months, anything like that people can say hello to you? You got anything planned?
I don't think I am. I did swither about going down to the Alakazam convention down in London, but I'm also going down to London in August with my wife and kids to go and see some musicals and that. So that was kind of, it wasn't going to work.
Quite
So yeah, so no, it'll be next year again.
Next year in Blackpool, yeah.
Yep.
Same time, same place.
Yeah, man, I love it. It's so much fun. It's just so much fun.
Back on every stage again, yeah.
Let's hope so. Let's hope not.
It's
See
just
that gala.
whilst we were talking about this, that it's not just Blackpool, that it was London Magic Convention that you were on the stage.
Yeah, no, I know, and I think
you must just have one of those faces.
I think it's you. I think you bring out the luck. You're the lucky charm that gets me.
You just have to take me to every convention.
Yeah.
On stage.
No, see the gala show though. Like that night, oh my god, I felt I couldn't hear what John Archer was saying because I was sat behind him.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm meant to be doing.
Amazing. Oh, yeah. So my last question to wrap this up is: put yourself in your shoes when you were 19 or whatever age you were when you first started going to Blackpool. You just starting to become exposed to the fact that there is this community of magicians out there. Yeah. What would your advice be to somebody that is finding this out for the first time?
In terms of what to expect when they get there, or
I think in terms of how they can make the most or engage with this community. What would you encourage somebody to do? Like we've had suggestions of not being afraid to reach out and message a magician if they want advice off them. The worst they're going to do is say no, that sort of thing. What would you recommend to somebody that's new to the community that they might be nervous of doing, or just for them to make the most of the fact that there is a good community out there that people are willing to do things for each other?
Yeah, I suppose just take a walk around. Just get there. It's it can be daunting. Just breathe. If you need to breathe, just breathe, and just to have a walk around the dealer's hall, see what's going on. Walk around, go to as much as you possibly can that interests you. If there's a magician that interests you, go to that lecture, because you'll no doubt sit next to someone who's also interested in that same person, and that might be a way to sort of engage in conversation. Grab a coffee in this sort of the lounge areas and walk around and just get a sense of what people are doing, if they're doing card tricks or whatever. And if it sets something off in you that you're like, that's the kind of thing I'm interested in. If you see a group of people doing Rubik's Cube magic and that's your thing, approach them and have the conversation about that with them. If you see a group doing card magic, approach them. If you see a group doing mind reading or whatever, approach them. I think the magic community in general is really good at flattening the hierarchy. Yeah. There is ego within the magic community, and that's okay. That's allowed. People are allowed to do what they like. It's their lives. But in general, in the main, ego doesn't exist. There's a lot of people that are more than happy for people to come and sit down next to them and just be like, and don't feel that you have to do any magic to anyone. Like I didn't do any magic the first year that I was there.
Nothing.
Like I was terrified. Like all I could do at the time was like, I would do stage magic with the Rubik's Cubes and things like that, but I wasn't confident enough to do it to another magician. And the card trick that I was doing at the time was Ambitious Card or the Omni deck, because I was a wedding magician at the time as well. So all of the things that aren't going to fool anyone. I did perform my own effect, which was the Internet Movie Database book test. I did that the first year. Okay. And that sort of led to conversations with other sort of magicians as well. Michael Murray, I bumped into Michael Murray and I sort of shared the idea with him, and he was like, yeah, what about this? And, Michael Murray, like being Michael Murray, that was incredible. He's such a lovely guy as well. Magic is just so full of lovely people. Christian Grace, like such a great dude. Francisco, I don't know how to say his last name, Machino, Portuguese magician. One of the loveliest magicians I've met. Only met him 2 years ago. So and speak to the dealers, go up and have conversations with the dealers, because, you know, magicians are just humans. We're all flawed. So, you know,
we're all flawed and we've all got something in common. And I think that's the takeaway, isn't it? Is, like you said, there's from the outside, I think there is a perceived hierarchy in magic. If you've got the creators, the big name performers, no one sat at home that isn't in magic will know who those people are unless they've been on TV. So when it comes down to it, and you go to these things, you will see people that you know as like a big name in magic. They will be just the same as you. And at some point, it was their first convention. Go on, chat to them. They'll be happy to have a chat with you because you've got something in common.
Yeah.
And that's amazing advice. So I appreciate that, Michael.
The last bit of advice.
More advice
would be probably to watch one of Lloyd Barnes. I can't remember what one is, but he did a sort of guide to Blackpool. And I remember one year just sort of watching it on the train. I knew all about Blackpool by this point, but just to watch that video, and I was like, you know, that's a great video for people that are probably going to be first timers. So yeah,
amazing. I'll have to look that up myself, and Lloyd will be happy with a plug, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Michael, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure people will find a lot of use in this conversation as well. So
I hope so. And apologies if it's just been a ramble. Anyone that's watching.
No, it's been great. I think the lovely thing about this is that people hear other people's experiences, and it just hopefully my goal with this is not to get like thousands of followers on a YouTube channel. It is to give people the courage to do things that other people have done that have progressed them in, you know, their performance, their friendships in magic. So if one person gets something from a conversation, that's a success for me in terms of this channel, I think. And I think people will take from this that, you know, it's worth doing the things that you've done and making those friendships that lead to something that they put in their own show. So I think that's a key takeaway from this as well. So Michael, thank you very much. I'm going to hit stop recording now, and we'll have a quick chat before you get on with your day. Thank you very much.
Yes, Brian, thank you.
It was so nice to speak to Michael. Obviously, we've chatted quite a lot of conventions, but not much in between, apart from the odd message on Facebook when we see each other doing things in magic. But it was so nice to sit down and actually hear about his background and things that he's doing at the moment. Question for you guys before I wrap up this week: has a conversation between magicians in, say, a convention or just a jam session ever led to you performing something particular at a gig or at a show? Let me know below, and I'll see you next week.